Hello everyone, bringing you a video today looking at this, which is 1925 pattern RAF web equipment, the pistol equipment, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. There are various other components to allow this equipment to be used as a set of rifle equipment. There are also holsters and ammunition pouches associated with its use with an automatic pistol as opposed to a revolver. But this is, as I say, the set as designed for use with a revolver. Otherwise, talking about the components that are missing and so forth would get a bit over the top in terms of the various components that I have yet to pick up. And it's something I'll talk about in more detail when I do a video about this in more detail, hopefully after picking up more of the various components which are part of this equipment set. So today we're going to be talking about the equipment I have here on the mannequin, which is missing some components even from what is here, but it's set as designed for use with a revolver essentially. And this is obviously a follow-up to the video I did on the 1919 pattern, spurred on by the very kind donation of the upper part of the rucksack for this by my friend Ian, who gave me the pack for the 1919 pattern, which you'll have seen in the previous video. And as I say, this is not fully in depth. This is just looking at the components that I have so far put together because I thought it would be a nice thing to do. And obviously we'll talk about what's missing as we go on through the video. So as you can see here, very similar initial outward look, very similar to the 1919 pattern. You have here the pistol case on this side. This is a second issue pistol case. As I said, with the 1919 pattern, there are two examples of pistol case. The first pattern has a wooden plug in the bottom. This is the later pattern, which has the standard webbing base to it, like the 1937 pattern. And again, in form, it's very similar to the 1937 pattern. One way to differentiate it from 1937 pattern is the fact that it doesn't have the horizontal set of C-hooks at the top to clip into the bottom of a pistol or pistol ammunition pouch or compass pouch, because it's not obviously designed to be worn in that manner as the 1937 pattern pistol case is. The belt is a three-part design, very similar. Again, we'll look at that in just a moment. And we have here the pistol ammunition pouch, which again, very similar in design to that of the 1919, obviously now made in blue-grey. The brace attachments here are, as you can see there, khaki webbing, not blue-grey. They are Air Ministry marked. I don't actually have a set of the 1925 pattern brace attachments yet, so to assemble the set I've used these pair. As I say, they are Air Ministry marked, but they're not in the blue-grey. They're probably Air Ministry contract 1937 pattern. They have the square link again, as 1937 pattern brace attachments do. Early 1925 pattern brace attachments, as with 1919 pattern, have the round link there as opposed to the squared off one, but later manufactured examples would have the square link, and they're basically the same as 1937 pattern. The braces again are very similar to 1937 pattern, so you can't see details of those there because we have the L straps for the top part of the rucksack. We'll move this round now and take a look at the left hand side of the web equipment. On the left hand side of the web equipment here we have the haversack on the hip, and this is a very simple haversack. There's no fittings on the back in order to carry it on the back. It's designed purely to be worn at the hip and obviously to carry the rations and so forth, as the haversack originally was with web equipment of this time period, sort of the interwar time period. The haversack of the 1908 pattern, for example, is designed very much just to carry the unconsumed portion of the day's rations, and that's pretty much what this haversack would serve the purpose for. It's not really big enough and certainly not designed to be carried on the back to carry other equipment when this isn't being worn as a full set of marching order. Obviously, in this instance, we'll talk about this in a minute, you actually have two parts of the rucksack on the back. So you continue wearing the smaller top part, and that allows you to carry the things you'll need in the field, aside from the bits which are carried in the lower portion of the pack, which can be removed when you're not wearing full marching order. The belt, as you can see here, three-piece design. We have the adjusting C-clips here, so you have two front pieces and a back piece, and they adjust round there. You can see a press stud here, a male section of a press stud, and there's another one hidden underneath the belt here from when it's adjusted round. When this is worn as rifle equipment, the associated bayonet frog, very similar to 1937 pattern in form, has the female section of the press stud. You actually attach it to the belt by that so it doesn't slide around. Neat little piece of the design. It means when you draw the bayonet, it's held in place, the frog is held in place on the equipment, and it doesn't slide around when you're doing that. With the L straps here, well, they should be L straps. You should have a strap coming around to buckle onto the base of the haversack here from the side of the brass hook at the front here. That's missing, so I'm going to have to find a 3/4 inch supply of 3/4 inch RAF webbing. The only common area I know that's used is in the front straps on the 1937 pattern RAF haversack, which are going to be too short for this job, much as I don't want to butcher webbing anyway, so I'm going to have to find a way around that. Whether it's buying some khaki and dyeing it or blancoing it to fit, I will probably end up blancoing this because it's rather warm condition. It's had ink and paint stains on it. So I think a way of tidying it will be to blanco it. So it's possible but I'll be able to get a supply of car key strap to replace that strap which is missing there, and then blanco it to match the rest. As you can see here, the top part of the rucksack is very small really in terms of actual carrying capacity, but there would be a larger bottom section on here worn when in full marching order, which carries obviously the rest of your equipment there, so spare clothing, that sort of thing. I believe the top part is more for carrying your the bits and pieces that you need in the field, like your wash kit, your pullover, cat comforter, that sort of thing. Basically what you would carry in the 1937 pattern haversack is what you would carry in the top part. To see these components which are missing, which I mention which I will mention as we're going through the equipment set as it is on the mannequin, highly recommend checking out Khaki Web. I'll put a link to that in a pinned comment down below, which will give you an idea of what these components look like. There's a lot of very good photographs on there showing the equipment set in a more complete form, which I hope to have it in at some point in the future. As I say, just looking at the components I have here at the moment. We'll move this round now and we can take a better look at the top part of the rucksack there. Here you have the top part of the rucksack here, and as you can see it's quite wide and squat. You'd normally have, in full marching order, you'd have the bottom part attached too. But certainly I've seen some quite interesting footage, 1939 and heading over to France in 1939, and they're carrying kit bags and they're actually wearing 1925 pattern, and they're just carrying the top part of the rucksack. The L straps are captive. Hopefully you'll be able to see there. You do have the 2-inch adjustment buckle here, but they are stitched on, so the adjusted end just gets bunched up at the top here. So unlike obviously 1937 pattern, you can't remove the L straps from the rucksack. The lower strap, which is missing, does buckle onto the bottom of the rucksack here, or would do. Obviously when the full depth of this is worn, the straps are moved down to the bottom of the extended section, the extra section, so that the whole thing is supported on the shoulders by hanging off those straps and the hooks at the front. As I say, you can see that in the set displays on Khaki Web, which I've linked down below. So that's the back of the equipment set there. Looking at the right side of the mannequin here, we have another missing component, and that's the water bottle and its carrier. It would be a sleeve type carrier. The 1925 pattern introduced a sleeve type carrier in contrast to the 1919 pattern, which had the skeleton carrier. And that would also be in blue grey, of course, something relatively easy to pick up. They were manufactured as part of the 1937 pattern equipment for the RAF as well. So even if it's not a pre-war dated example or very early war dated example, I can pick up something which will do the job. As I say, I'm interested in getting RAF 1937 pattern together as well, so it'll add to that equipment, even if it is one that's technically part of the 1937 pattern, not part of this. They are the same though, essentially, the sleeve type water bottle carrier, and obviously it would be introduced for army use with 1937 pattern as a simplified and easier to manufacture item as the war progressed, both in short and long varieties. The 1925 pattern, it fully encloses the bottle, so that's a piece of the equipment which should be relatively easy to pick up, or certainly something that does the job of that, as with the RAF blue brace attachments, which again I can use 1937 pattern with this and it'll be visually accurate, even if, as I say, they're not technically dated as part of the 1925 pattern equipment. They may well have been made as 1937 pattern because the RAF contracted for blue grey 1937 pattern, and components were mixed and matched to a degree, as with 1919 pattern, after the introduction of 1937 pattern into RAF service. So there we have a brief overview of the RAF 1925 pattern revolver equipment set I have here. Obviously something that I've wanted to put together for a while, and other things have been prioritised above this, so it's been a slow going, and I've picked up pieces when I've seen them cheaply, I guess, cheaply enough to purchase. But it's something I think in the next couple of years, finishing off the 1919 pattern and finishing off this, is something I'm going to focus on more. But it does all hinge on exactly when components turn up for sale, because quite a few parts of these equipment sets are relatively rare. They're not very, very rare, but relatively rare. And I would quite like to get the rifle equipment together as well. Interestingly, Canada also made components for this as well. They also made a 1925 pattern, so certain components are a bit different. They vary a little. The cartridge carriers are a good example of that, and there are details of that on Khaki Web again, if you want to learn more about this. That's kind of the purpose of these two videos, is to make people aware of these interwar British web equipment sets, and to point them in the direction where they can find out more information if you'd like to. As I say, going forward, I'd very much hope that I'll be able to do videos on these equipment sets in full, with the uniform on the mannequin and so forth, as I do for other sets of equipment. So there it is. That is a look at what I have of the 1925 pattern web equipment. I hope you found it interesting, as I always say. If you like my videos and you'd like to support the channel, you can do. I now have a Patreon where obviously those who've been watching my videos recently will know about that. I've been mentioning it. There's a link to that in the description. Those who pledge to the corporal tier on there get the chance to vote on a poll of what the next Mannequin of the Month video is going to be. So that may entice some of you to take a look over there. And as I say, otherwise it's not really incentivized. You just get early access to some of the videos that I upload. There's also a PayPal link if you want to make a one-time donation. It's greatly appreciated for those who have. Thank you very much indeed. It's very much appreciated people subscribing. The channel's doing very well from that point of view at the moment, and I thank you all very much for that. If you'd like to subscribe, obviously hit the subscribe button down below, and make sure you've hit the notification button as well. The little bell notifies you when I upload future videos. There's also a Facebook and an Instagram page. Facebook's a good place to get in touch with me, and I share photographs of the collection over there and various other things, news of going to events. So obviously we're moving into the winter months now. It's going to be a bit quieter on that front, but a good place to keep up with what's going on anyway. But that's everything I wanted to cover in this video. So until next time, bye for now.